Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the KFS postgame show. No, I am not Jonathan Macri. My name is Andrew Claudio, aka GMAC. I am joined by my partner in crime for tonight, Mr. More Like Mensa, my fellow Mets fan, my fellow Jets fan, and as a result, we are familiar with disappointment. And oh
Oh,
boy,
yes.
was that a disappointment watching the Knicks fall to the Utah Jazz, the 7-16 coming into this game. Utah Jazz. Yes, I know Lauri Markkanen returned. Yes, I know Walker Kessler returned. We'll talk about all of it and how the Knicks were able to lose this game. A disappointing effort to start a 4-game Western Conference road trip. Mensa, when we initially planned tonight, when I initially reached out to you to join me, because I'm going to be filling in for most of these West Coast games or Western Conference games, and I said to you, or like, let's do it. We'll have some fun. And you said, we'll get to hopefully celebrate back-to-back wins in Salt Lake City. And the exact text I sent you was, they better effing win this game, because I think we all knew this coming in, and I mapped it out on the pregame show, and it's been mapped out on every pod. The stretch that's coming up for the Knicks, their next 9 games to close out 2023. And in fact, let's just extend it to New Year's Day when they play the Minnesota Timberwolves. The next 10 games going into 2024 are all against teams over 500. And we know what the Knicks record has been against over 500 teams. This game felt important, that you want to build as big a cushion as possible with Mitchell Robinson going down, with Jalen Brunson playing banged up, with Emmanuel Quickly playing banged up, with multiple like these road stretches that they have just been awful for them this season, that they're just always on the road. It seems like always playing a back-to-back. And now you've not dug yourself into a hole. You're still 3 games over 500, but now we start to worry a little bit that you go into this gauntlet to end the year with not as much momentum as you could have had. So Mensa, I'll leave it to you now. Your thoughts after that disappointing loss to Utah.
So the way the game first started was we were playing well. Julius Randle looked good, and RJ Barrett had a poor start to the game, but everybody else seemed to have it going. So I was preparing myself to come to this post game and like defend RJ Barrett's like integrity. And then it turns out that no, it wasn't just RJ Barrett. Nobody could shoot, not named Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, or Emmanuel Quickly. This was maybe the worst game I've seen from Jalen Brunson as a New York Knick. I didn't feel he was engaged. Maybe it could be that the ankle is bothering him a lot more than he is letting on. Jalen Brunson, a lot like Julius Randle, is a soldier, will play through the pain, not make any noise about it. But he hasn't been bad, but today was not a great game for him. And when your best player isn't playing well, everybody else kind of follows suit. Josh Hart got a lot of the bad stuff from Josh Hart, not shooting the open jumpers. Julius Randle played well, but he had some moments there that you kind of just, at this point, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater with Julius Randle. But he was excellent, but we let him down. RJ Barrett, first half of the game, could not shoot, had a great start to the third quarter, and then we kind of didn't see him after that. The fourth quarter was another patented Knicks fake comeback, which sucks because we needed this game really badly. But to me, the one thing that it boils down to is this is a game that we lost by single digits where the New York Knicks missed 10 free throws. Even with all of that nonsense going on, the New York Knicks, if they just hit their free throws, Jalen Brunson being one of the biggest culprits tonight, if we would have just hit our free throws, we would have been having the same like negative feelings about this game, but at least it would have been 14-9 and not 13-10. So the Knicks have a lot to consider. I will give them a little bit of grace because it is hard to win in Salt Lake City, especially for the New York Knicks. Again, I was hoping that we could win back-to-back games there. And then with Lauri Markkanen coming back and Walker Kessler coming back, it just seems like everybody, hey, if you're going to come back against the Knicks. It'll be great. Speaking of, on our next game, I think is against the Suns, and they just got Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant back. So we're going to be playing them. It's not going to be an easy schedule down the road, even though they just lost to the Suns. They just lost to the Nets. So maybe there's going to be a little bit of that, kind of figuring each other out thing going on over there. So This is going to be a tough stretch coming up, but I'm not, again, these games happen. It's a long season. You're on the road. The Knicks have been screwed by the schedule. It's been a really rough schedule. We earned by winning in the in-season tournament. We earned a game against Milwaukee on the road, and then we earned another game against Boston on the road. So it's just been, there's a lot going on here. The New York Knicks are still a good basketball team. I want to be very clear about that. But we really needed this win because this next stretch is going to show us exactly who we are. And I think we're a good team. I think we're a great team, actually. Hopefully, we're closer to great than we are to mediocre. We're going to find out a lot about this team.
So there's a couple things that you said that I want to touch on, and it goes to the formula of how they've won games this year and how they've lost games this year. The first thing, the free throws, this has just been a thing all season, that they have just not been a consistent free throw shooting team. The Jalen Brunson of it all, the guy missed 5 free throws in a game he lost by 4 points. Now, he did get to the line 16 times, so you credit him there, but I think this is in contention. I know this is going to come up in the super chat tonight. This is in contention for his worst game as a New York Knick. He wasn't getting a good whistle tonight, yet he was still trying to force it. I mean, for everybody that's going to bring up RJ going 0-7 from 3, Jalen Brunson 0-6 from 3, including a chance to tie it at the end. He has earned our grace to an extent, and Benji brought this up during our watch along. There's that stretch where Jalen Brunson was just like automatic from 3 for 2 weeks, or like a stretch of 7 to 8 games where he was like shooting 50% from 3. So we ignored how poor he was on his floaters, on his 2-pointers, and how it seemed like he was missing his free throws. Well, that 3-point percentage has come crashing down, and now he's been somewhat inconsistent over the course of this season. It's not to the point where you're worried, but you're not going to win a lot of games when your best player has the game like Jalen Brunson had tonight. You add in that this is a team in the Knicks that is 5th in the NBA in 3-point percentage, and John looked this up during the watch along. They have not won a game this year in which they shot worse than 35% from 3, 34.9 to be specific. So part of the Knicks formula in order to win games is they hit their threes, and they went 9 of 39 from 3 tonight. There are margins in a 4-point game that they lost. The free throw line, the Jalen Brunson margin they lost tonight, the 3-point line margin they lost tonight. The Knicks 9 of 39, the Jazz 16 of 42. There's 3 other big ones that I want to point out before I hand it back over to you or get your take on this. I thought they got a really rough whistle tonight. I know like they got to the line 11 more times, but the Knicks play a more aggressive game than the Jazz, and there just seemed to be so many instances where something that was a call on one end was not a call on the other end, and like I was not happy with the whistle that the Knicks got tonight. So there's a margin there. There's the Quentin Grimes margin. We have been a champion of Quentin Grimes. How frustrating it must have been to be in the first unit and not see shots, how much better he's looked since voicing his frustration and moving to the second unit, how aggressive he's looked. And in 16 minutes tonight, he was a minus 27. I know plus minus is not always indicative of how it's not the end all be all of how a player plays. I thought Quentin Grimes was pretty awful and was not looking for his shot in the first half. Maybe his teammates could have got him more involved. I thought it was pretty bad in the second half, specifically that fourth quarter. And this is where, listen, Macri's not here. I could bring up the Tibbs margin if I'd like to. And look, I do think he doesn't get credit for the Tibbs margin that he wins. Like, the reason the Knicks are able to come back in a game like this is because of a Tom Thibodeau team presenting a floor of competence and well-coached and well-execution when they're playing right. There's no reason Emmanuel Quickley should have played 18 minutes tonight, especially if Quentin Grimes was going to be this version. 4 more minutes for Quickley. And like, even if you don't think Quickley had the best night tonight, I thought he like 15 points in 18 minutes. There's Benji also brought this up. Coming off of an injury, a leg injury, you don't know if he was on a bit of a minute restriction himself, so maybe he brought him back slowly. I thought Quickley could have played 2 or 3 more minutes, and maybe that's a margin that the Knicks win. But the bigger one, if you want to take the quickly argument on a whole different level, Mensa. Dante DiVincenzo tonight in 27 minutes was plus 12 for 21 points. In the fourth quarter, it seemed like the Knicks were flirting with disaster and the deficit was ballooning, and Tibbs made a substitution. And I thought it was going to be, he subbed Jalen Brunson back in, and he kept Quickly in. And I thought that he was going to sub Julius Randle back in for Quentin Grimes. And what he did was sub Julius Randle back in for Emmanuel Quickly and left Grimes out there, and the lead ballooned up to 17. If you bring Dante DiVincenzo back in there at least, I would still be frustrated, but I can accept you brought back a guy that I thought just played an outstanding game tonight, DiVincenzo. And lo and behold, you know what happened when they brought DiVincenzo back in the game, Mensa? Over the final 6 minutes, the Knicks outscored the Utah Jazz 23-9. So you could have won that margin too. There's one last margin I want to talk about, and this is going to be a concern going forward, and it's that they lost the offensive rebounding game 15-14. As much as we wanted to say that they'll be fine without Mitchell Robinson, the paint is just not as protected. The rim is not as protected as it has been all season with Mitch there. They're not creating the offensive advantages, the possession advantages that a Mitchell Robinson anchored offense and defense create. This is like DJ was pointing it out that it was like 91-82. The Knicks were taking 91 shots. The other team was taking 82 shots all season. That was their formula. And here we are. The Jazz took 4 more shot attempts than the Knicks tonight. That is no longer an advantage that they win. And it's why all of these things that contribute to a loss, you can point to in a 4-point game and be like, if one or two of these things is flipped, we're talking about a frustrating game, but a win. And instead, all of those things went wrong, and you lose a game in Utah.
Yeah, it was really, really rough. I want to touch on the Quentin Grimes part of it first, because there's an issue with, like, Tibbs has his guys and Tibbs has his, like, things that he can't compromise on. Perimeter defense is obviously one of those things for Tom Thibodeau, so I understand not wanting to take Quentin Grimes out of the game. However, I don't understand that against the Utah Jazz. Yes, I get it. Taylor Horton-Tucker looked like the player that the Lakers fans put in trade machines for 18 months trying to get a superstar. I understand that. But you're not worried about him beating you off the dribble so badly that you need to keep Quentin Grimes in the game. Your team is losing. You need to shoot the ball. Put your best shooter in the game. It's just, it can be frustrating when Tom Thibodeau has his substitution patterns on like autopilot. It doesn't seem like there's much deviation. Like watching like RJ Barrett didn't have much run in the second half when I felt he started to get it going early in the third quarter. I'm not trying to say that we should have gotten more RJ Barrett. RJ Barrett was not good tonight. I don't think we should have, but at the same time, let's go back to the minutes here. There's no reason for Emmanuel Quickly to now be the 8th man in the rotation. Emmanuel, we had Isaiah Hartenstein and Josh Hart with, I think, 29 minutes apiece, with Emmanuel Quickly down at 18. Like, that's just not what you want, especially when Jalen Brunson, having the worst game of his season, plays 39 minutes. Like, I understand that you may want to, bring Quickly in and roll him along slowly, but when he has it going, and I don't know Tom Thibodeau to believe in load management. If a guy's ready to go, a guy's ready to go. So I'm not necessarily buying maybe they were playing it slow with Quickly, because Quickly was playing great ball. He looked good. He didn't look like there were any ailments. I thought he was fine. He should have gotten more than 18 minutes. There's no reason for, if you would have started the season at the top of the season, if I asked you who are the 5 best players in the New York Knicks, if I asked 25 different fans who are the 5 best players in the Knicks, all 25 of those people would have had Emmanuel Quickly on that list. There's no reason for him to be 6th, 7th, 8th on the team in minutes right now. It just doesn't make sense. It's a point of frustration, especially when this guy is in a contract year. He has incentive to play better than he played ever before because the contract is coming up. I don't understand it. It's really rough. The Tom Thibodeau margin tonight, like you said, was just not. This wasn't his finest hour.
It wasn't his best game.
This isn't fire Tibbs. Yeah.
No. This is I had some smoke for him is more where I go with this.
Of course.
Even if I recognize the size issues that If you go to Quickly at the 2 and DiVincenzo at the 3, that's a very small team against the Jazz and their size, and they struggled in that fourth quarter with the Jazz and their size, including when Emmanuel Quickly was on the floor. So while Quickly did have it going on offense, look, my bigger thing is like 18 minutes is not enough for him. And
yeah, definitely.
the thing about Brunson playing 39, like every coach does this with their guys, like their best players. Like you're going to trust he eventually gets it going. And I know that just continues to be a thing with this team, that their two best guys are not that elite, that you can just trust that they're eventually going to turn it on. But like we have seen Brunson just suddenly find it in the fourth quarter, and it just didn't happen tonight. That Miami Heat game, he was not good for 3 quarters. And then in the fourth quarter, he just like found it against some of the best defenders in the NBA, and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Granted, they were attacking Jaime Jaquez that entire fourth quarter, but look, it's a margin that I also agree is a point of frustration. I more go to Brunson playing how he played tonight, and like you have earned enough of a reputation tonight that's the margin I go to. The free throws are the margin I go to. And look, like for Josh Hart, for a game that he went 0 of 4 from the field, I actually thought he was instrumental in their comeback in the fourth quarter and forcing a lot of bad possessions and a lot of bad shots on Utah. How many loose balls did he force just being a pest on defense during that comeback? I whatever it's called, the supernova lineup with Brunson, Hart, and DiVincenzo, Randle, and a center. That's been a gigantic positive all season. So that's where I am with that. Just a lot of margins they lost tonight that lead to a disappointing road loss in Utah. Julius Randle was really good.
Yeah,
Julius
I wanted
Randle,
to go there next.
yeah. He just has it kind of cooking in the mid range at the moment. He gets to a certain point on the floor where he knows he can score, and he's got this. This is money. He was 32 points, 14 of 23 from the field, 32, 12, and 6 is what Randle finished with. And if his
game high plus 13.
If his teammates were hitting threes, I think he has a triple double tonight, because he took no shots in the fourth quarter. All 2 of his points came on free throws, and he was getting to the paint like he was all game. But because they were trying to come back, he was looking for teammates to take threes, and only DiVincenzo hit threes. That last possession where they got Randle in the paint, or that chance to tie the game at 117, they got Randle in the paint, and Josh Hart misses a 3, a big Quickly rebound, and Brunson misses a 3. So but it's just an outstanding game from Julius, with the caveat of all the frustrating defensive possessions that we get. I thought he was brilliant on offense tonight.
This was a great Julius Randle game. He gets to a point in the season right around now for the second year in a row where he just decides that I know everybody's in love with Jalen Brunson, but I'm the best player on the team, and I'm going to be the one who represents us in the All-Star game, because the way he's been playing has just been lights out. I think that he's found almost like a new way of playing tonight, where it wasn't because a lot of it for me with Julius Randle, my personal frustrations with him are the process where it's like we're taking 4 to 5 seconds to set him up, and then they're bringing the double. He takes another 4 to 5 seconds to realize he's being double teamed, and another 2 seconds after that to pass it. It can be really frustrating. That was not Julius Randle's process tonight. Julius Randle in the first quarter, I found, was getting buckets like a garbage man. He was attacking the glass. He was running down. He was looking like Obi Toppin, like running out, beating guys in the first quarter, beating guys down the court. He was playing so well in ways that I have not been accustomed to watching Julius Randle play good basketball. So I do want to give him his flowers. I think that on a night where basically nobody else showed up, he was let down by his teammates. He was let down by he was let down by his teammates. He was great. He was wonderful. And there was a point in the third quarter where I'm like, please, I think he hit he put us up in the game in the third quarter. I'm like, please take us home 30. And that's not a place where I normally am, where it's like, please, Julius, we need you to take us home because nobody else is getting there. And he almost did it. Him and DiVincenzo together, they put together a great fourth quarter. And it's it's good to see Julius Randle play this way. If we're looking for silver linings, there's the Dante DiVincenzo silver lining, there's the Julius Randle silver lining, and I think those are, and the quickly silver lining. We just need to see him more. But one thing I did want to touch on before we jump into the super chats was the way we lost this game, again, with the free throws, with the 3-point shooting and the rebounding. One of the things about the New York Knicks is that they have become accustomed to winning basketball games by just valuing possessions more than the other team, getting more offensive rebounds, turning more of the possessions that we get into threes. So when we're not converting our threes and we're not getting the offensive rebounds, if we're going to, this team cannot lose the possession game because we're just not, and this is the hard truth to swallow. We're just not as talented as other guys around the league as far as like that top end talent where these guys can roll out of their bed, get a 600 effective field goal percentage, and just take a game over the way a Kevin Durant or Devin Booker or a Luka Doncic can do. We don't have that overwhelming force on our roster. Now, Julius Randle did a great job tonight. Jalen Brunson often does great jobs, but this team needs to win the rebounding battle. And that is something that I felt we were losing even before Mitchell Robinson got down. I think that torrid start he got off to at the beginning of the season, he started to taper off and regress back to the mean. And that's when things like the Titanic started to show some leaks. And now that Mitchell Robinson isn't here, the Knicks almost have to find a new way to win games because we can't rely on winning the possession battle, but we should also be making our open threes. I felt the Knicks had a lot of good looks at the basket from three, and they just weren't making them. So maybe that, again, it's just a tough place in Salt Lake to win. But right, it's we can't lose as many margins as we lost and expect to win because the top end talent just isn't on the roster yet. And I love this roster. I'm somebody who thought this team was going to win 50 plus games this year. So I'm not down on the roster, but we do have to come to a point where we're being realistic about what we actually have on the team and how I guess this game kind of exposes how we need to win basketball games going forward, because we can't just rely on the volume of attempts anymore because it's not going to be there without Mitchell Robinson.
I'm going to bring up another box score real quick. It's from a different game where a team went 7 of 27 from 3, missed 11 free throws, and lost both the offensive and the overall rebounding battle. And that team still won by 14 tonight. And it's because Giannis had 64 points. Like, you can have all those things go wrong, but if you have a great player like Giannis on your team, you can get away with it. Now, I'm hoping that you don't need 64 from Giannis on a night like that to overcome shooting poorly, missing free throws, and getting out rebounded. Knicks don't have that tier 1 all-NBA, first team all-NBA player that can overcome all these different things going wrong. And when you have 3 players in your 9-man rotation really having good games, and look, like I didn't want to like crucify RJ tonight. I think I know we can have the RJ Barrett conversation, Bets. I know that it's always a loaded one when you and I talk about him. What I will say about RJ is, and it's what I've been trying to be consistent about this season, is that on nights he doesn't shoot well, he's like last year when he didn't shoot well, he wasn't playable because of what he was on the defensive end. And this year he continues to be a net positive on defense that you just hope like, okay, he's going to find it. Like the last game against the Raptors, he shot poorly for 3 quarters, but he was still defending. Like it was still, and DJ laid it out perfectly in a thread today. The force that RJ Barrett was from on the defensive end made it that you accept how bad he's playing on offense, and hopefully he'd turn it around. And in the fourth quarter, they got him going downhill. I thought we got to a point with RJ in this game where I was like, okay, I think you have other options to close with. Even that third quarter where he got it going, I still thought that there was some decisions that he's just not finding guys on the wing right now. He's very much like a tunnel vision, get to the rim. Now he was getting the ball to finally go through the hoop. He had 6 points to start the third quarter. But I thought this was a pretty rough RJ game. And like, you want to talk about the looks that he got, a lot of his threes are because when Randle drives or when Brunson drives, they find him and they're above the break and he's missing them. I want to acknowledge how good he is defensively still. And this is not like I'm not crucify him. Like this isn't like, why do you hate RJ Barrett? He had a very poor game on offense, but is still able to hold his own on defense, and I want that acknowledged.
Yeah, I think on a team that's coached by Tom Thibodeau and one of his mantras being you don't have to shoot well to play well, I think that applies to RJ Barrett tonight. He had one play early in the first quarter where he dives on the floor to get a loose ball and drops a beautiful dime pass to Julius Randle under the basket. These are the things that we did not see from RJ Barrett last year. And while he's not shooting well, we can still point to the season-long trend. One thing that you can point to, like for shooting specifically, is free throw percentage. And he's at 83% for the season right now. So I have faith that the shooting is going to come around, especially because the shot quality is not, this isn't Cam Reddish shooting off balance 3-point shooters. And I'm not trying to like, please, I'm not trying to, this is not a stray at Cam Reddish.
I ain't saying a word, Mensa.
This is just, I'm just pointing out how like certain players, when they struggle, sometimes it can be self-inflicted, and other times just the ball isn't going through the hoop. Right? RJ Barrett is not taking poor shots from three. He's taking open jumpers, he's taking corner jumpers, and it's just not going down in a night where it's easy to point to RJ Barrett because he missed the most shots tonight. But nobody was hitting shots other than Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and Emmanuel Quickly. It's harder to hide a player like that and point to the good defense and point to the rebounds and assists that he's getting you when a guy like Jalen Brunson, who you're relying on to be better, isn't showing up. And that's when you need more from your secondary and your tertiary options. And RJ Barrett just didn't have it tonight. So I think it's very fair to criticize RJ Barrett tonight because he did not shoot the ball well. He shot it poorly. Yeah. But if we're going to talk about shooting poorly, we have to talk about the entire team, because everybody shot it poorly, and again, RJ Barrett, right. I agree. Josh Hart was excellent doing all the little things in the fourth quarter to help us get that comeback. Didn't seem like Dante DiVincenzo could miss until it was an air ball. So it wasn't, again, the Knicks are talented enough where when RJ Barrett is not playing well, we have other options. And that is a luxury of this team. But we are not talented enough that when Jalen Brunson isn't playing well and nobody else is playing well, this is not how it works. We don't have that Giannis. We don't have that Luka. We don't have that Jokic, that Embiid, guys who can get you 50 and be like, all right, don't worry about it. I'm going to put you on my back and we're going to get home. We don't have that yet. So we just need this team to find consistency. And this is where I kind of want to roll into giving Tom Thibodeau some credit, because like you said, there's a floor with the Tom Thibodeau coach team. So
and just real quick, it never gets acknowledged.
Yeah. And that's not fair. Tonight it was exposed because we just didn't play well. Guys weren't hitting their shots, but you can't be mad at Tom Thibodeau when your star player is missing 5 free throws, when your team is missing 10 free throws, when nobody can, when I think
9 of 39 from three. Yeah.
I think the stat was RJ, Brunson, and Grimes were 0 for 20 from three. Like, you can't blame Tom Thibodeau for that. Guys are getting open looks. It's up to them to make the shots. So while we don't have the talent necessarily, we are well coached enough that guys are in the position to execute. If guys are not executing, that is not a coaching thing. That's a player thing.
Yeah. And look, like we pointed out the smoke for Tibbs. I thought Quickly could have played more. I thought you could have brought DiVincenzo back early. I just like this is a Knicks team that like we've seen it over the years because we were Knicks fans forever. Like this would have become a 20-point game, and we're watching Deuce in the fourth quarter on a Jeff Hornacek or a Derek Fisher team. But like we saw it in the Heat game, we saw it in the Celtic game, we saw it in the Minnesota game. When nothing's falling, you're still gonna get this effort and this toughness and this well disciplined team is gonna give you one more run. And they were able to make a really bad Utah team look really bad in that fourth quarter. I think that really hits everything. The only other thing I want to say before we get to our sponsors and then of course the super chats is so Taj Gibson re-signed with the Knicks today, and Jericho Sims played 18 minutes. 18 minutes, 2 rebounds from your center is not exactly what you want. I thought Walker Kessler had pretty much owned the second half. He had a poor first half but a really good second half, and there are times when Jericho Sims shows potential of what he could be with some playing time and some coaching and some reps, and maybe, but then there's also the reminder he's the 58th pick in the draft, and I'm very curious how soon we see it, or if we see some Taj Gibson over Sims minutes. What do you think, Mensa?
He will be starting Christmas Day.
You think he's starting Christmas
He's
Day?
starting on Christmas. I'm sorry. Jericho Sims is not ready. He's a good basketball player. He's not ready to be a starting center, and especially,
You think he's a good basketball player? Really?
I think,
or he could be a good basketball player.
A good basketball player.
Yeah.
Thank you for catching that. I think that he is a good backup big. If you need 10 to 15 spot minutes from him and you have a center who can play 30 to 35 minutes, Jericho Sims is not a bad option. When you need him to fill in for Mitchell Robinson, it doesn't work that way. So I think we're going to see Tom Thibodeau go to Taj Gibson as soon as he can. And I'm not mad at that, because at least Taj Gibson gives you some spacing. At least Taj Gibson can hit a corner three. And I tweeted out earlier, the first corner three Taj Gibson hits is going to be ethereal. Oh man, the vibes are going to be right back. So I'm expecting Jericho Sims to grab some bench, and that 18 minutes. If Tom Thibodeau's going to give anybody 18 minutes, it's going to be a guy he built his career with. So
yes, absolutely. I like the move just in general. By the way, it does seem like we underrate how much Derrick Rose being in that locker room might have mattered last year. Just a veteran. It's a bit of a Tibbs whisperer to the rest of the guys.
Yeah, just don't look at him.
Just don't look at him. And that could be what Taj is. And you know what? He may even play too. We're going to get to the super chats in a second. I also just want to comment on the regular chat at the moment, because listen, John's not here tonight. So I have the full setup where I have the YouTube chat and like StreamYard where we can go through our process. We're being called the RJ defense attorneys at the moment. So
yes, sir.
I am one with you. I thought RJ was horrible tonight. I just acknowledge he was really good on defense again. Now, it's tough to play him when he's that awful on offense and still really good on defense when you have other options that need to be better on offense.
He was Andre Robertson on offense tonight.
I didn't disagree with him. Well, the tough thing about the Andre Roberson comment, he goes 0 for 7, and then he has other ways. Like, you're okay playing 4-on-5. RJ's taking 16 shots, and it's at a certain point you do need to make. At a certain point, you do need to start making shots, and I got to know where you are. As I know, I know where you are on RJ, but the 3-point shot has just fallen off a cliff at this point, and that we all knew he wasn't going to shoot 50% from 3. I was hoping 35, 36 could be the happy medium, and since coming back from that second absence, it's become a liability when he's taking above the break threes. So where are you on that?
I will say it's 23 games into the season.
It is. No, it's still a small sample size. We also did react the way we did when it was 7 games into the season.
Definitely. I was doing victory laps before Columbus Day. I was basically
before Halloween, man.
I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I wasn't, boasting my chest for RJ Barrett, but I do think that, again, when the 3-point shot is not going down, we can look at the free throw shooting. I think if this was, 67%, 69%, 73% from the free throw line, RJ Barrett, I would be more concerned about the shooting. I'd be having very different conversations. But because I'm seeing the free throw shooting, it feels like he's been a more reliable free throw shooter than Jalen Brunson this season. And that is more an indictment on Brunson than it is praise for RJ Barrett. But I'm not worried about the shot yet, because he's making his free throws. And to me, that has always been a more reliable baseline than 3-point shooting, which has been a little more volatile in just the history of basketball.
The only cap I'll call is the more reliable than Brunson.
Feels like,
and I think it's because we expect every Brunson free throw to go in. So
yes,
the feeling
100%
of a Brunson miss is less deflating.
It hurts.
Than RJ miss, because it's RJ missing a free throw. We've seen this for 5 years. With Brunson, it's and when he misses 5 tonight, again, that's when you want to talk about. We probably didn't talk about Quentin Grimes being a minus 27 in 16 minutes enough, but
footnote.
The 2 missed free throws down the stretch that apparently won everybody in the building something. That's when I thought the game was over. And that's also when I was like, all right, you got to pull him. And he played another like 4 or 5 possessions after that. So an overall bad night for a lot of the Knicks, except for Julius Randle, DiVincenzo, and quickly in limited time. We'll get to all your super chats and all your comments about this game. But first, we must hear from our friends at, hold on, I got to find the correct background, at AG1. They are sponsored for today. Go to AG1, drinkag1.com/film school and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. They are your daily supply of athletic greens. They come in liquid form. You start your day with it, or you can, if you're like me and you got it like a late night shift, or me and Mensa, you take it and you get through a long post game that's depressing. Helps you feel lighter, helps you feel more healthy. So shout out to AG1 again. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. That's drinkag1.com/film school. Mensa, what's our drinking game tonight? Anytime anyone mentions Brunson,
no, I'm expecting a lot more RJ Barrett slander. So let's go RJ.
Okay. Whenever someone mentions RJ Barrett, we will salute to AG1. And then we got to give a shout out to the fine folks over at Prize Picks, because they are also our sponsor for betting and sweating. We're just going to go over our picks for tonight. First of all, shout out to Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/KFS and use code KFS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Again, that's prizepicks.com/KFS and use code KFS for a first deposit match up to $100. So, Mensa, we did a betting and sweating parlay before the game with our Prize picks. And I'm going to pull it up on the screen in just a second.
Yeah, mine was a negative.
So here's the deal. Shout out to Sean with a W, who, while on the road, was still able to get his Prize Picks selection in. Here, I got to find it real quick. Where is it? Where are you?
I think he had Lowry, no?
He did. I'm trying to find on my screen where I can pull it up. So, all right, we're caught up now. Can you see that on your screen, Mensa? Oh, it's really small. I'll zoom in. So, our parlay tonight, okay, was my parlay of Jalen Brunson over 2.5 threes. He then proceeded to hit 0 3-pointers tonight. Keontae George poor XJ. He took Keontae George more than 15.5 points, and Keontae George left early with an injury. So we almost want to give him a pass and he can take 2 the next game. But I don't make the rules, so I guess we'll find out. And then, of course, Mensa, you took RJ Barrett over 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists. He did not have over that. And then Sean, he wanted to change his pick last minute. He took Lauri Markkanen over 20.5 points. Then we found out that Lauri Markkanen was going to be on a minutes restriction, and it didn't matter. He still had 23 points in the very limited minutes that he played tonight.
Good basketball player.
That is a very good basketball player. So shout out to our friends at Prize Picks again. Hopefully we can get back to our winning ways in the next one, Mensa. But a bit of cold stretch for me, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, I've been. Oh boy, it's been bad.
It's been bad. All right, I think it is time for us to get to the super chat. We will read all of your comments throughout the night and hopefully have some fun and make this as undepressing as possible, if that's a word. As little deflating as possible. I think I'm just making up words at this point. Let's get to the super chat. Colin Reardon kicks us off, and now comes a stretch above 500 teams. Those in the group of thinking this team has a hard cap ceiling got some ammo. Hart has to be better. I thought a really rough first half for Josh Hart as far as that's concerned. As someone who has preached about the ceiling being higher, what do you say to something like this?
Yeah, no. People who think that the ceiling has people who do think that, hey, this is a limited team because of the talent. Yeah, they do have some ammo because we just lost a game against Utah because Jalen Brunson wasn't his best. We're going to play some teams that have that tier one talent, and it's going to be a rough time. It's going to be I hope it won't be, but we can be honest and say, hey, the Knicks are going to have a tough time against guys like Durant and Anthony Edwards and Giannis and you name them. So yeah, this is going to be agenda heaven for negative Nancy's. Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been very much on the 4-5 seed ceiling for this team for a while. There are a couple teams that are better than I thought. Obviously, Orlando is better than I thought they'd be. I'm actually it's funny. We've talked about this. I had Indiana as my 6th seed before the season, and then the day that we went to post our predictions publicly, I made the last minute swap and put them 8th. But I was high on them coming into the year, and they've obviously been better even than a 5 seed you'd expect. And then there's just like a huge jumble in the East that you worry that these 2 or 3 months that you might not have Mitch could potentially push you back. Yeah, I'm. It's not that I'm not confident about this stretch, Colin. I am successfully worried about this 10-game stretch going into 2024. But the one thing I'll say, this is a credit to this entire nucleus that's been here the last 4 or 5 years. Every single time I'm ready to be like, here comes the trip downhill. Here comes the fall down the mountain. They respond. Every single time I've been like, you know what? It's just not their year. They're just not that good. They've proved me wrong, and they've gone the other direction. So I wonder if a stretch against better competition turns something on in this team. And, maybe we're looking at it in 10 games. And it's like, oh, they remember that stretch where they lost the Jazz game and then went 6-4 to close out 2023?
Because Taj Gibson saved us? Absolutely.
Because Taj Gibson saved the day. Exactly. So thank you, Colin, for the contribution. Mensa, you're up. Oh, boy.
Here's Kev. Star J. Wouldn't trade him for Giannis, Luka, Embiid, or Monstars with 90s powers. Mensa, you should dance in the street if he has Julius's career. Hashtag honest convos.
This is Kevin Danishevsky, by the way.
Kevin Danishevsky, the president of the Quentin Grimes Hive. How you doing, brother? Yeah, this wasn't a great night for RJ Barrett, but again, it wasn't a great night for Jalen Brunson. Wasn't a great night for your fave, Quentin Grimes, who led the team with a negative 27 in a game that we lost by 4 or 5 points.
4 points.
So yeah, there are a lot of conversations that we need to have about a lot of players after tonight. RJ Barrett wasn't great, but he was not alone in the stink fest. So yep, that's where I'm at with it.
I agree, Kevin. Not a great night for RJ. He wants us to read his next comment. Hold on. Oh, he does acknowledge. Also from Kevin Danishevsky. Heartbroken emoji, QG. All for rotations from Tibbs tonight. QG out there way too long. JB in a slump. Positives. Oh, JB. Hold on. Oh, he said RJ. This is now 2. I got a drink to shout out AG1. Read the rest of the comment.
Okay, heartbroken emoji for Quentin Grimes. All for rotations from Tibbs tonight. Not too sure about that one. Quentin Grimes out there way too long. Definitely. JB in a slump. I think it's the ankle, but yeah, it's been a slump. Positive Jew is a beast out there, and we found it with DDV starting. DDV starting is a point that's great because even when he wasn't shooting, I think the last game he took like 2 FGA, but he got 4 rebounds and 5 assists. So he's finding ways to make himself useful on a night where he doesn't have to shoot. He makes it work in the secondary stats. On a night where we need him to shoot like tonight, he'll give you 20, 23 points. So great comment there about Dante DiVincenzo there. I think we do have something with him.
DiVincenzo, and maybe this is just like a Villanova thing, but he has that same ability with heart that even though he's not the tallest, he crashes the boards and comes away with rebounds inexplicably. Like he was a force. Well, force is probably too strong a word, but just noticeable every time the Knicks needed an offensive board, a defensive board. And because he has better than average ball handling skills, he also initiates fast breaks. And that's what you get with him in the starting unit over Grimes, who, is not as much of a contributor. He's much more of a shooter. I echo everything you said. It's really just 2 slight rotation changes with Tibbs as far as the awfulness of his. I thought Quickly should have played more, and I thought he should have brought DiVincenzo back sooner. Like this was screaming for an 11-minute Grimes night. Now, it's funny. Do we give Tibbs any credit for being like, you know what? I want to ride with Grimes tonight, even though he's having a bad night. He's had 2 good nights, and I want to reward him by trying to get him some shots, and it didn't
He
work.
gets no
He gets no
credit.
credit for that.
He gets zero credit. No, we do not
So
want to give him
now
credit.
you trust the young guys, Tibbs. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
he gets zero credit for it.
Zero credit. Okay.
But I don't think that the rotations were the reason we lost tonight. Free throws, threes.
You can't call rotations the reason when you shoot 9 of 39 from 3. And then Jalen Brunson has the game he had. RJ Barrett has the game he had. Quentin Grimes has the game he had. Like, I can't call this a coaching loss. I can point to margins like we have tonight, but I just there are certain things I can't point to as like this is the glaring reason why in the Tibbs department. Next up, you read it. Oh no! I keep thinking the drinking game is Brunson. So go ahead, you read it, but it's not. Go ahead.
Will Daly, thank you for your contribution. Was this JB's worst game as a Knick? It's certainly up there. In my recent memory, yes, I think this was a terrible game. The box score says something different. He had like 23, 8, and 7. Looked pretty good, but watching the game, this was not a good Jalen Brunson night. Didn't give you much on defense. Missing shots. A lot of his shots were coming up short. Could be the ankle. I want to give him. I always want to put that out there with that caveat. Could be the ankle, but this was maybe one of his 5 worst games as a Knick.
I would. What's the most frustrating part about this question is like, I want to say if you think it's one of his 5 worst, have 4 of them happened this season? Like opening night, he shoots 6 of 21 against the Celtics. Like we're coming off a 9 for 21 against a 10 for 22 where he was just picked on all night against Milwaukee. There's the Boston game where while he was 8 of 17, it felt like he was picked on in that game too. He went 0 of 10 during the in-season tournament from 3. It feels like there's been games that have happened this year that we've pointed to, and it's like, oh, that's the worst Brunson game, and now those are starting to tally up, which is frustrating. So. Next up, Josh So Focused. Thank you for the contributions. Not just here, but during the watch along. He was sending us little comments throughout the watch along. So thank you there too. If you're going to complain in post games about getting the ball, you can't have games like this when you do get the ball. Talking about 0 points and 2 points. So this is both at Josh Hart and Quentin Grimes. I have a soft spot for Josh Hart. He's just been playing outstanding lately. I thought he was a net positive down the stretch. I do recognize you need more than 0 points from him. You do need him to put the ball in the hoop at a certain point. And then, of course, we both agree on the Quentin Grimes margin.
Yeah. Quentin Grimes was not good tonight. I don't want to spend so much time because, you feel for a guy 23 years old in his 3rd season, not playing his best basketball. Had a good game, but again, on a night where nobody could hit shots, I'm not really focused on individual performances. RJ Barrett looked bad, Jalen Brunson looked bad, Quentin Grimes looked bad, Josh Hart wasn't shooting the ball. It just wasn't a great. Jericho Sims didn't look great. Isaiah Hartenstein had the most frustrating foul.
My goodness,
we didn't
mention that turned the game around. I'm so glad you brought it up. Quickly hits the 3 to put them up 84-83. I'm sure it's a Colin Sexton or a Taylor Horton Tucker or some annoying guy on the Jazz that hit a 3. So Chris Dunn, there you go, hits the 3 to make it 86-84. There's seconds left on the clock, and Markkanen's just trying to get a look up the floor, and he hits a running 3. He doesn't even have his feet set. He pulls up, he takes a 3. Hartenstein puts his hand on his back, which they're gonna call it every time. And what could have been a 2-point game after you were flirting with disaster the entire 3rd quarter, you got Julius Randle a 10-0 run by himself, and you give them 3 free throws with 0.3 seconds left, and it just carried over into the 4th quarter. A 9-0 run after that 3 free throws to put them up 5, and it just. I want to talk about margins that they lost by 4. Like, imagine if those 3 free throws don't happen. So.
Yeah. Again, so Josh Hart wasn't great, Quentin Grimes wasn't great, but the team did not perform well. I can't really point to 1 or 2 guys and say you're the reason we lost. It was just everybody but 3 guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, team loss here, guys.
Next up, Will Oliver. Lots of the same issues. Something feels, which is literally what we've been talking about. Something feels very off.
Yeah.
Yeah. They need 2 things or certain things to happen for them to win and potentially dominate. And with Mitch gone, you're not going to have the same offensive rebound possession battle domination. And on nights where they don't shoot well from three, it's been documented, they don't win. So yeah, something feels off that they don't win when they don't have certain things go right for them. And better teams are able to overcome that because there's talent ceiling is higher. What do you think, Mensa?
Yeah, no, that's something that feels very off is the possession battle. That's what it is. The Knicks, again, not hitting their threes. So we're not getting value out of the possessions that we have, and then we're losing the offensive rebound battle. We're letting teams like the Utah Jazz shoot what I think 6 more at field goal attempts. Like that's what feels off. It's the Knicks are not imposing their will on other teams because and we're going to learn this the hard way this season, that our defensive identity was in 2 basketball players. It was in Quentin Grimes and it was in Mitchell Robinson. With those two, with one guy sidelined for 8 to 10 weeks and one guy out of the starting lineup, the New York Knicks have to find a new identity because we're not going to be able to impose our will on teams the way we were with those 2 players on the court.
You're up, Anthony Sixto.
All right, Anthony Sixto, thanks for the contribution. Full confidence he will get right, but this may be JB's worst game with the Knicks, despite stats unusually forcing Beatty and distracted with refs. Hashtag trade no one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Trade number 1. Is that what that's?
No. It's trade no one. It's trade no one. It's trade
okay.
No one. Yeah.
All right.
The Knicks don't have a number 1. They traded him to Indiana.
Yeah. Oh, right. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. This is up there with Jalen Brunson's worst games. I'm not willing to fully commit to that just because I don't remember all I don't remember all of his bad games to kind of throw them out of the way. I do remember he had one. The first time I remember Jalen Brunson having a bad game was against the Raptors. Like the first time he played the Raptors last season, like he just struggles so much with their length. Maybe that game was worse. I'm not sure, but as Jalen Brunson becomes more and more important to the team, and he just will as the games go along, every time he has a bad game, it's going to feel like the worst game he's had.
So I've got 2 candidates for Jalen Brunson's worst game to start. You brought up the Toronto game where he had 7 points on 3 of 14 shooting. He did have 12 assists in that game. And then there's a Hornets game that the Knicks won by 19 that he went 3 of 13, but he had 11 assists. So he found other ways to contribute. The first game after the Cleveland game last year that saved the season, right? That saved Tibbs' job. They played Atlanta and they won by 24 at home. They ran him off the floor. DeJounte Murray got hurt, and then John got in trouble with Hawks Fan TV for joking around. Like, that's the one contribution RJ made tonight, is that he injured DeJounte Murray. But Jalen Brunson went 2 of 14 in that game, but they still won. And then the Warriors game on the road that they lost, he went 2 of 13. So, there have been games that he hasn't hit shots. I think what's most frustrating about this one, and this is just, how I'm feeling, I want to see how you feel too, is, you see the blueprint of this being a great Brunson game. And because, the little things that we've come to appreciate him for always doing, like hitting tough shots in the paint, being able to hit his free throws, hitting 3-pointers like he did this year. I think the biggest thread from the games I just mentioned right here, these were blowouts or double-digit games. This one actually might have cost them a game. So that's why I think this hurts even more, and why we're gravitating toward the take that this is one of his worst games, or is his worst game.
Yeah, because of what it cost us at the time in the season and what is coming up next, I'm willing to say definitively this was, just circumstantially, his worst game as a New York Knick.
Yeah. Next up, you got to read this because I got to drink. Shout out to AG1.
Here we go. Haitian Ferg, thanks for the contribution. RJ, JB were terrible tonight. Didn't like the energy at all. JR balled out, but they went away from him. JB forced the issue in the 4th. Missed free throws greater than the final score, 100%. I think this is a great comment. Yeah, missed free throws, forcing the issue. Both RJ Barrett and Jalen Brunson were terrible. Julius Randle balling out. This encapsulates the game, guys. Yeah, great comment.
Only pushback I'll give is that they went away from him in the 4th.
He just didn't shoot. Yeah,
he just didn't shoot. They were trying to hit get looks from three, and like you saw when he made the Randle for quickly sub, the next couple possessions were Randle into the paint, and as soon as anyone came into the paint with him, or a second guy came, he was hitting whoever that guy's man was guarding on the wing. It was Grimes twice, it was Brunson once, and it was 3 missed 3-pointers. Then the DiVincenzo sub happens, and the Knicks are 23-9, making a run to try and come back and win this game. So I thought they used Randle being a force in the paint and just kind of an automatic in the mid-range at the moment to create offense, because Randle's actually starting to process, as you always point out, process things more quickly. And, you know, they're able to create open looks from three as a result. So that's the only pushback. Casey Ferg, I'm like usually in agreement 99% of the time with you. So thank you, as always, Haitian.
Really quickly, you just said something that I think could be a t-shirt. Like, process things, period, more quickly, period. That's those 4 words
more quickly.
Those 4 words right there.
Well
that's
done
for you.
Jeremy, put that on a t-shirt. Next up, David Crockett. Rough game from JB. See, this, if I would have been shouting out AG1 all game if Jalen Brunson was the drinking game. Teams are throwing a lot of size and physicality at him. We need to see more of IQ running the show, or he'll wear down. I mean, it's just so tough because of how good he was.
Could you give Brunson 34 minutes? You know,
he could. I think
you can still get a lot of Brunson and get some more quickly.
The tough part is the stretches that he didn't like that Brunson came back in for. Like, he probably was headed for a 30-minute, 4-minute night. And then the fourth quarter, they get off to that rocky start, and he was like, I'm getting Brunson back in the game. This is how the rotation has been. Jalen Brunson is a 36 to 39 minute player. He survived it last year. I would agree Emmanuel quickly for more than 18 minutes is a solution to
very
more problems than it isn't. Yeah. Like 24 minutes tonight would have been perfect for 22 minutes for quickly tonight is probably the sweet spot, because who knows how much they win those minutes. Those 4 minutes could have potentially been. So thank you, David, as always.
All right, David Peterfriend. Thank you.
Bill.
What? David Crockett.
David Crockett, yeah.
I'm all over the place. Sorry, guys. Bill Peterfriend, thank you for the contribution. Knicks are about it to go on a long losing streak, I fear. Brutal schedule. My fears are the same as your fears, Bill. I am hoping for the best. We have Taj Gibson. Taj Gibson's going to come in and clean up all this mess. He's going to be the sheriff. We're going to go 8-2 in the next 10, and we're all going to be thankful for Leon Rose for signing one Taj Gibson. Corner threes, baby.
From your lips to God's ears, that Taj Gibson came and saved the season. He'll have a Kenyon Martin effect, like when Kenyon Martin came to the 2013 team and they just didn't lose for 2 months. Yeah, let's hope that Taj has that effect. Anthony Sixto, my issue with Tibbs tonight, not intervening with JB, forcing it so much in the fourth. Julius Randle was scoring and distributing well. Oddly, didn't lean into it. Didn't lean into it late. Anthony, I disagree. Like, maybe Brunson was in certain possessions forcing it. I thought they were creating offense when Julius had the ball. Maybe you could have gone to it more, but at a certain point, you have to mix it up. And Jalen Brunson has earned the opportunity with this team to try and get it going himself, because we've seen him single-handedly win games by doing that. So I do understand what you're saying. At a certain point, you have to go to your star and say, like, you don't have it tonight. Like, let's get going. But the confidence he's instilled in Brunson and with Randle you imagine this weird world we're in right now, Mensa, where we're like, you should not have gone with Jalen Brunson and you should have gone with Julius Randle.
Only in Salt Lake City.
I've been sitting on these post games all year saying Julius Randle should never touch a hearing Julius Randle should never touch a basketball again. And here we are saying, not that you're saying this, Anthony, but like, we needed more Randle over Jalen Brunson in the fourth, this Twilight Zone episode that we're on. So this is just like, that's what Utah is, apparently. That's where the Twilight Zone exists.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I think that Tom Thibodeau, you have to say he's consistent, because if he didn't intervene with Jalen Brunson, he also never intervened with Julius Randle. With
Nope.
Julius Randle was, had his head everywhere but in a basketball game. So yeah, I can't hold Tibbs accountable for that, because at this point that is who he is, and the New York Knicks have found a winning formula with this coach. And like you said earlier, in a game where David Fizdale or Jeff Hornacek or any other Knicks coach in the past like 20 years, basically, where our team shoots 9 for 39 from 3, we're losing by 45 points. This was a 4-point game.
Mensa, simplify it a little even more. What game are the Knicks losing by 4 where 3 of their 9 rotation players played well? Like, that's the thing I keep going back to when I see the calls for his job. It's like, I agree, there are things that drive me crazy with Tibbs. Like, it does not have to be like a baseball game where you're scripting out, or a football game where you're scripting out the first 20 plays or scripting out the rotations, right? Like, you can let the game have a feel if you'd like to. Now, Utah causes some matchup problems with the Knicks' size, so maybe that's why Quickly played only 18 minutes. Quickly was also coming off a knee injury. Maybe that's why he only played 18 minutes. He also just doesn't play quickly enough. So maybe that's why Quickly only played 18 minutes. Like, there are things that frustrate me with him. Sure. I think I just keep going back to the fact that this team like fights when they have no business to be in games like this. And like, when the Bucks shoot like this, they're able to still win by double digits because they have Giannis and we don't have a Giannis. That's what we should do. We should get a Giannis.
Yeah. Look, maybe in 2 years when the Knicks finally make the superstar trade and we have one of the 7 best players in the league, then yeah, sure. Then these issues will go away. But as of now, this is the pitfalls. This is the up and down of one. It's the up and down of the regular season. And 2, this is roster building in real time. We're not there yet, and we have to be real about that.
I did think and we can get to the next super chat in a second, but the Fred Katz report the other day of, like, the front office recognizes they have too many guys. Like, they have too many guys for so many spots. Like, the consolidation trade is going to happen, and I think it's going to hurt when it does. It has to be for the right guy so it doesn't hurt as much. Like, you fucking trade 2 for 1 and it's DeRozan. I'm just like not going to be behind a deal like that.
This team is too smart to do that.
Yeah.
I have my eye on 2 or 3 guys, and because this is a post game, I'm not going to go into who those 2 or 3 guys are, but just look at the teams in the NBA who are anywhere between 8th and 11th, and they have a good basketball player that this team could use. There's a chance that the Knicks have their eyes on one of those guys.
Next up, you're up.
Kyle Norris, thanks for the competition. Thanks for the contribution. It's late. Sorry, guys. FO sabotaging IQ's minutes to leverage contract negotiations. I sure hope not. I don't think that that's their intention, especially because, like, look, they don't tell Tom Thibodeau how to play players, I don't think. Emmanuel Quickly is.
He would not listen if they did.
There's that too.
They would rather fire him than tell him how to run the
yeah.
rotation.
I think they called. I think one time he called Brock Aller Hinky.
Yeah.
So this is not. I don't think that's actually happening. Emmanuel Quickly being the 8th man is highly concerning, especially when he was the rightful heir to the 6th Man of the Year award last year. I don't agree with it. I don't understand why it's happening, but I also don't think it's Leon Rose of Worldwide West saying, "Oh, he didn't sign the contract. All right, we're gonna ruin his." Like, I don't think that's the New York Knicks. I think this team supports their players. It's just right now we have too many guys, and it's hard. These are the problems that we saw coming in July when they signed Dante DiVincenzo, because they had too many players, and now you're seeing the rosters crunch in real time. It's frustrating, but there is a solution coming, because there has to be a solution coming.
The solution is a consolidation trade, or, I mean, God forbid, an injury. But it's funny, the place that the Knicks could have afforded to lose a guy for 8 to 10 weeks was a 2-guard. Like, if Grimes or DiVincenzo or Josh Hart went down, there would be a loss. But you have so much depth there. I mean, losing Mitch, who was like part of the formula to why they were able to create an advantage in a lot of these games, is just why we're seeing it now, how brutal of a blow it is. There's just like there's a path to the rim for a lot of Knicks opponents right now that is really frustrating. We all know the solution. The other solution, Mensa, Quickly needs to complain in a post game.
Yeah, there it is.
And then suddenly he's just gonna get 40 minutes the next game, and they'll move him into the starting lineup is what they'll do. But yeah, you said it. They have so many guys for the two guard spot that like last year, the reason Quickly was able to show out the way he did is because of like RJ missing some time, or Grimes struggling, and so he's playing the two, or Brunson missing some time. So I feel I think I'm still, maybe my membership card is expired, but the Quickly Hive, I would like to see him play more minutes. I also recognize there are other guys that are playing well that should also be playing minutes. So you only have a certain amount of minutes you can play in a game, and the Knicks are finding out the problem with that at the moment. But thank you, Kyle. Two more.
Okay.
This is you. No, this is me.
Yeah.
Rowan Beckford Sr. Shout out to you, sir. Thank you for the contribution. Open corner threes are detrimental. I think it's why teams have been having their best nights from three against us. Have to be perfect and lucky to beat that output. So what did you think about the defense tonight?
I think the defense was not great. You can't let teams like the Utah Jazz just destroy you from three. And I've been feeling, and this is a trend that I've noticed since Quentin Grimes kind of sat down. Actually, before Quentin Grimes sat down, we got lit up by the Milwaukee Bucks. Then Quentin Grimes sat down against the Boston Celtics. They lit us up, and everybody, myself included, was like, well, that's just the Bucks and the Celtics. That's what they do. And then Toronto did it to us. And Toronto being a bottom three-point shooting team, for them to put 130 points on us, that was concerning. And now we're going into Utah, and guys like Taylor Horton Tucker are looking like Michael Jordan, and we're letting Chris Dunn hit open corner threes when he wasn't in the league a couple years ago. It's concerning. And I do know that, I think XJ said on the math class episode that we just did, shout out to XJ, shout out to Jeff. They're doing great things over at Hot Hand Theory. Happy to see that they had a live stream with us. I think he did say that there's just a bunch of data saying that you can't really stop a team from shooting well from three. But I am from the school of conventional wisdom, and I say, damn all that, do something about it. I don't want to see teams shooting free throw percentages against us from the 3-point line. It's very disconcerting. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. I'm gonna pull them up quickly.
What numbers? I have
3-point. The Jazz. They shot
16 of 42.
Only 6. Yeah, so 38%. Not terrible.
And I will say
pretty bad from the free throw line as well. They only shot 71%. We were
41. Like 4 of them were Markkanen, who's you just gotta respect a good shooter.
Yeah.
And like open corner threes, they hit 4 of 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on, I can count this better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they were 4 of 7 from the corners. But look, I actually thought the defense was worse at the rim than on the threes. I thought some of the threes were backbreaking, but some
Colin
of them were
Sexton was killing us at the basket all night.
Like Taylor Horton Tucker was just backing down Quickly or backing down Brunson, and just like they didn't have an answer for him there. Like Kelly Olynyk wasn't like, he was just more annoying in the paint, and anytime Colin Sexton got to the rim, he was dumping off. And this is like where I noticed how Sims was being picked on. And look, the Knicks, I did think they try to switch more liberally. This is the frustration when Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are on the floor. They were picking on Julius Randle in the first quarter from three. They were picking on Jalen Brunson at times from three. It is just the nature of this team. They have 2 weak closeout defenders on the court at all times. They just happen to be their 2 best offensive players. So I was more noticing just how easy access the rim has now become with Mitchell Robinson gone. That was more my bigger takeaway. I don't know if you had a different takeaway.
I think that's fair. I just wanted to point out that the defense in general, since like the past week or so, has been concerning. And I guess they just unlocked a new way to concern me with the defense. So yeah, definitely we need to be better at the rim, but we have been allowing teams to shoot uncharacteristically from three. Didn't really happen tonight. They only shot 38%, but that's still really good from three for a team. So it's concerning, and I don't want teams like Utah scoring 117 points against us. That bothers me.
Granted, Markkanen being back they're just a different team. Like I mapped it out in the pregame pod today. Like they're being outscored when Markkanen's on the court this season. Like that is still a thing, but they're being outscored by 4 points with Markkanen on the floor. When he's off, they're being outscored by 16 points, and all of their cleaning the glass percentiles are in like the bottom 10%. So they lost by 50 points the other day to the Dallas Mavericks without Kyrie. Like, that is the team that was 7-16 with Markkanen. They're a team that plays close games because they have an All-NBA caliber player and an All-Star. And we talk about all the margins the Knicks lost tonight. The margin that the Jazz won tonight was they had Lauri Markkanen on the floor, who's really good, and he was able to create some advantages that Colin Sexton and Talen Horton-Tucker and other players were able to take advantage of. So, thank you, Rowan, for the contribution. Last one. IQ's grenade. Oh, my bad. Meant to read it. Sorry.
Okay. I don't mean to jump in.
No, we're supposed to go back and forth. That's my bad.
Okay. Anthony Sixto, thank you again for your contribution. IQ's grenade with 2 left. Best bag protecting play of the season. Keep that percentage high and avoid eating the turnover. Oh, that's I mean, yeah, I can't say that doesn't happen. I don't think that's been Quickly's character, but hey, tonight was a weird night. Wasn't a great play. I thought that it was really weird. Like, we had multiple shot clock violations that was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I will just say the Jazz went to a zone for a lot of the game, and the Knicks were struggling with it. You got to credit the other team at some point. Like, I do think we do this sometimes. Like, I know I do it a lot, where I'm like, well, why didn't we do this? And you have to also look at the other team and be like, well, it's because they did this. Like, at a certain point, there's a chess game going on, and you have to respect that sometimes they're just going to have a move that you didn't see, and then you have to counter with it. And man, I thought that the 24-second violation that Sixto's referring to, that Anthony's referring to, was definitely a grenade, but I thought it was forced because they switched Horton-Tucker onto Quickly, and then when he didn't take him off the dribble, they switched Kessler onto him, and he just threw it back to Randle, and it was like, you have 1 second to shoot, Julius, and you have, I believe he had Olynyk on him, so it was like not going to be an easy 3. Yeah, I thought the Jazz played a good defensive game, at least. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, they came ready to play. I thought that the New York Knicks, I was even commenting in our group chat on Twitter that the Knicks were up double digits and they weren't shooting well from 3 because I felt that their effort early on was great and that effort kind of just waned and the Jazz didn't let up. So credit to the Jazz for winning a game that they shouldn't have won. And yeah, they had a good game plan. Talen Horton-Tucker, Chris Dunn, credit to those guys. It probably would have been worse if Jordan Clarkson was playing, which is really concerning for the Knicks. Like, we're losing to a 12 seed without one of their best players on the court. Concerning stuff all around. And yeah, but you do have to give the Jazz credit because at the end of the day, games are not played, on the schedule. They're played on the court. So while we may have thought that this was going to be an easy layup line win, you still got to go into Utah. You still got to beat them. And they had Lauri Markkanen, and that made it a lot more difficult.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here, Mensa?
No, just want to say thank you to everybody for, hanging out with us tonight. Sorry about my digs. I'm currently, if you don't know, me and my wife just had a baby about 2 weeks ago. So I'm at my in-laws' house and I'm trying to make it work. So yeah, it's a little rough for me right now, but I'm always happy to come on, talk basketball with you guys. Even on a day where RJ Barrett doesn't play well, when Jalen Brunson doesn't play well, when the Knicks don't play well. This is always fun for me to do. So thank you guys for hanging out with us and giving us stuff to talk about.
I'm sorry that the newest addition to your family did not get to see a victory on your first post game. First, I hope the newest addition to your family is not awake to see any of this at the moment. So,
you
wouldn't be here if you were. Okay, good. But look, we haven't. At least I haven't said it publicly because I've been waiting for you to say it. I know you said it on Casual Friday, but we haven't seen each other since. Congratulations, Mensa, on behalf of the entire KFS crew. We love you. We feel like it's an addition to our family as well. And we can't wait for Uncle Claudio and Uncle Macri and Uncle Benji to shower this child with love. So congratulations, Mensa, and of course to your wife and to your family. And unfortunately, the Knicks could not get a win, but they'll be back at it again on Friday night. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel. It really helps us get the word out. If you're listening on the podcast feed later, please give a 5-star rating and a review. John will be back with me for the middle of the night on Friday into Saturday. The schedule coming up is John on Friday night for the Suns game, me on Saturday night for the Clippers game, and then me and Sean for the Lakers game. These 10:30 starts are not going to be fun, but we're going to make them work. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for staying up late with us. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you for tuning in. And until next time, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And let's go Knicks. Peace.